My beloved child, I need your full attention right now, because this is not just another day, it's the final stretch before a shift occurs that cannot be reversed. I have carried you through storms you didn't see, protected you from traps that were set in secret, and whispered truth when all you heard were lies. But now, this moment, this very breath is different. It is a divine pause before the next page turns, and it's not like the ones before. Everything around you might look the same, but something in the spiritual realm is shifting, and I am giving you this one last opening to listen, not later, not someday, but now. The path you choose in this moment will not just influence the hours ahead. It will define your future and echo into eternity. I've tried gently, I've tried quietly, and I've waited patiently, but this is the line I've drawn out of mercy. You are standing on holy ground, on the edge of change, and my voice is reaching you not as a whisper anymore, but as a cry from heaven. The enemy wants you to believe this is just another inspirational moment, or an emotional surge that will pass, but I tell you, this is my final alert. You can't outrun what's coming, but you can outgrow what's holding you back. You were not made to survive in cycles of compromise. You were created to rise in obedience and destiny. I am not threatening you, I am loving you loudly, desperately, one more time. Because I know what is ahead and I can't let you walk into it blind. There is still mercy in my voice, but the time to delay has expired. Don't let comfort deceive you. This is your wake-up call. This is your open door. This is your last chance before the shaking begins, and I don't want to move forward without you prepared. My beloved child, this is your final moment before everything changes. I have stood in silence as you paused in front of the very door I opened with my own hands, your name etched into the wood, your purpose sealed on the threshold, your freedom waiting on the other side. I've seen your heart tremble with indecision, weighed down by fears, doubts, and what-ifs. You stood there with one foot in faith and the other chained to comfort, unsure whether to leap or linger, and I've never once turned away from you while you wrestled with the choice. But I need you to know something crucial now. This door wasn't built to remain open forever. It was a moment crafted in mercy, a specific season carved into time for your awakening. I opened it not because you earned it, but because I love you. I held it open through storms of rebellion, through seasons where you ignored me, through distractions you allowed to dominate your life. I waited while you flirted with temptation, while you silenced conviction with noise, while you questioned if you were even worthy to walk through what I prepared for you. And even when your hesitation turned into delay, and delay into disobedience, I didn't close it. Because I knew what was waiting on the other side: healing, restoration, alignment, a destiny only you could carry. But now, my child, time is pressing in. The season is about to shift. The moment is about to pass. I am still standing here, but my spirit is urging you. How long will you keep hesitating at a door that was never meant to be optional? This is not a decoration, it's a divine passage. And I know you've been scared. I know you've been hurt before when you tried to trust. But this door is not like the others. This one leads to me, and leads to the life you prayed for, the bravery you grind for, the freedom you were born for. But hesitation is no longer harmless. Every time you pause, the enemy whispers louder, the chains grow tighter, and the distance between us feels deeper. I'm not angry, I'm longing. I'm not disappointed, I'm desperate for you to step forward. Because the door I kept open just for you is not merely symbolic, it is prophetic. And you are dangerously close to missing the fullness of what I meant for you to walk in. Don't let fear rob you again. Don't let confusion paralyze you one more time. Don't let voices that don't know your destiny talk you out of it. I'm here, my hand still stretched toward you. But this hesitation must break. Not next week. Not someday. Right now. This is your permission to run through it. This is your confirmation. This is your moment to decide that enough is enough. That you're done standing on the edge. That you're ready to walk into all I've prepared, all I've promised, and all I've preserved with your name on it. What you must move now. You must choose. You must walk through. I have watched you hesitate at the door that I kept open just for you. Don't make me close it while your feet are still on the wrong side. Every time your heart ached and you couldn't explain why, that was me pulling you closer. In the middle of your distractions, when the noise around you got louder but something inside you grew quiet, that was my spirit stirring your soul, reminding you that you were made for more than this cycle you've gotten trapped in. I've whispered through sleepless nights, through moments of silence after the scroll ends, through tears you refuse to show anyone else. I've stirred something deep inside you, something sacred you couldn't put into words, a restlessness that no entertainment, no relationship, no possession could satisfy. Yet each time I knocked, each time I pulled, each time I poured conviction into your spirit and made my presence known, you delayed. You said later. You said tomorrow. You said when things settle down, when you have more time, when you feel more ready. But child, don't you see? Readiness never comes from your flesh, it is born in surrender. And the longer you postpone it, the harder your heart becomes, not because you don't care, but because delay turns to spiritual numbness. You've convinced yourself that you're still in control of the timeline, that you can give me your heart when it's convenient. But I never asked for convenience, I asked for your surrender. Not a piece of your heart tucked away in private moments of guilt, but a full, unreserved laying down of your will. I've tugged gently, over and over, not to condemn you, but to awaken you, to let you know that my mercy was still pursuing you even when you weren't pursuing me. But grace isn't forever silent. The tug you feel now is not just me calling, it's me warning. Because every postponement is a risk. Every delay is a gamble. The world will keep feeding your mind with excuses and temporary pleasures. But what I'm offering isn't temporary, it's eternal. Still, I will not force you. I love you too deeply to violate your will. That is why I'm here again, tugging not just at your feelings, but at the very core of your identity. I see what you hide. I know the mask you wear in front of others. I see the weariness behind your smile and the battles you fight alone. But if you keep postponing, if you keep telling yourself you'll respond when life calms down, you'll miss the appointed time I set aside for you to rise. Surrender is not about being perfect. It's about finally saying, I can't do this alone. It's about falling into my arms before the world makes you collapse. And tug at your heart. That's the final call before the shift comes. That's the last beat before the rhythm of your life changes completely. Stop negotiating with grace. You've waited long enough. The pain you've been tolerating was never meant to be permanent. The tug isn't just for comfort, it's for transformation. If you ignore it again, the silence that follows won't just be quiet, it will be heavy. I don't want to stop calling you. I don't want to stop reaching for you. But the time for decision is now, and the invitation won't repeat forever. You felt me tug at your heart, but you've kept postponing your surrender. This is your last moment to let go of control and fall into the safety of my plan before everything you delayed starts fading away. There comes a point in every journey where hesitation turns from harmless to harmful, where delay stops being an option and becomes a decision in itself, and that point is now. The window that once stood wide open, full of grace, full of invitation, full of promise, is slowly narrowing, and though my love for you is endless, the season of invitation is not. You've been given time, more than most, more than you even deserve it, because mercy has surrounded you like a shield even when you weren't looking for it. But mercy does not mean there are no boundaries. You cannot live forever in the luxury of indecision and expect to inherit a destiny that requires action, surrender, and movement. Too many voices have tried to convince you that there's always tomorrow, that there's no urgency, that you can keep one foot in the world and one in my kingdom. But I'm telling you now, those voices were lies. This isn't fear speaking, this is clarity. This is truth. This is urgency born from my desperate desire to see you cross the threshold before the door closes behind you. You cannot afford to treat this as another message, another moment, another emotional push that fades with time. This is not meant to stir your feelings, it's meant to awaken your spirit. And if you don't listen now, the consequences will not be confusion, they will be silence. Not because I abandon you, but because your delay may place you outside the covering I had designed for this next move in your life. You've stood in between two worlds, wavering, compromising, reasoning with conviction like it's a suggestion instead of a command. And in doing so, you've risked forfeiting what I've been preparing for you all along. The window is not just closing on opportunity, it's closing on divine timing, on an alignment that heaven orchestrated specifically for you. One misstep beyond this moment could cost you years. One refusal to act could delay not only your purpose, but the purpose of those assigned to you. Because your obedience is not just about you, it affects generations. It touches people you've never met. It unlocks blessings you can't yet see. Don't treat this like a vague prophecy meant for someone else. Don't scroll past my voice thinking there will be another chance, a better day, a safer season. This is the day. This is the moment. This is the breath between your current life and the one I destined for you. And I'm not saying this to scare you, I'm saying it because I see the spiritual hourglass, and the final grains of sand are slipping through. If you only knew what was coming, both the beauty I've prepared and the shaking that's ahead, you would not waste another second trying to decide. I am still here. The window is still open. But I've reloaded. Don't let pride, fear, or distraction be the reason you miss what you were born to carry. Don't let regret be the only thing left when the opportunity fades. You're not too late yet, but you will be, if you keep assuming you have more time. The window is closing, and this is not a warning you can afford to ignore. The distance between where you are and where I destined you to be is not as far as you think. It's not years away. It's not buried beneath impossible obstacles. It's not locked behind qualifications or achievements. It's right here, right now, hanging in the balance of a single decision, to step forward. Heaven is not some unreachable place meant only for the perfect, the religious, or the strong. It was always meant for the willing. And even now, in this moment where everything in your life feels tangled and unclear, the reality of heaven's nearness hasn't changed. It's still within your reach. Not because you've done enough, but because I've already paid the price that tore the veil and built a bridge straight to my presence. But bridges are not meant to be admired from a distance, they are meant to be crossed. You cannot stay on the edge, looking at everything I've prepared for you, and hoping it somehow reaches you without a move of faith. That next step, though it terrifies you, is the very key that unlocks what you've prayed for in silence. You say you want clarity, but clarity often follows obedience, not the other way around. You want proof before you move, but faith doesn't operate in reverse, it starts in trust. The step you're hesitating to take is not into the unknown, it's into what I already know. I've gone before you. I've prepared the path, but I will not drag you onto it. This has to be your choice. Heaven, my peace, my presence, my purpose is not only waiting for you, it is reaching for you. But it will not lower itself to compete with your distractions. It will not stand beside the idols you refuse to let go. I am offering you everything: joy that cannot be shaken, love that cannot be taken, healing that goes deeper than the wounds you forgot you had. But it only becomes yours when you step toward it. Half-hearted moves won't carry you into the fullness of what I've called you to. You have to cross the line. You have to burn the excuses. You have to stop standing at the edge of transformation with your arms crossed in hesitation. Time is running out, and this moment of mercy is not eternal. It's a gift, a divine appointment, a crack in the wall of your old life that allows light to pour in, but if you ignore it, it closes. Not because I want to withhold anything from you, but because delay reveals doubt, and doubt turns doors into walls. You were meant to walk in power, to live free, to experience the kingdom within you, not just believe in it from a distance. But you can do that from where you are. A healing you need is on the other side of surrender. The breakthrough you're begging for, it's on the other side of obedience. The peace you've tried to manufacture, it's on the other side of repentance. The calling you feel echoing inside your soul, it's not just a dream, it's a direction. Take the step, even if your voice trembles and your knees shake. Take the step, not because you understand everything, but because you trust that I do. This isn't about being ready. It's about being willing. You don't need more signs, you've already been flooded with them. You don't need more confirmations, I am the voice behind every one of them. Now you need to move. Don't let this moment slip into the pile of chances you never used. Don't let fear whisper that you're not ready. Don't let shame lie to you and say it's too late. Heaven is still within your reach, but only if you take this step now. You stood at the crossroads long enough, weighing both paths as if they were equal, but they are not. One leads to life, the other to loss. One brings alignment with your divine purpose. The other leads you deeper into spiritual delay and disguised destruction. You don't need more time to decide. You need courage to choose. The illusion that this choice is small or temporary has kept you paralyzed, but in truth, what stands before you is eternal in consequence. This is not a seasonal shift. This is a spiritual turning point. Right now, in this very hour, you are standing on the edge of a decision that will define not just what happens next in your life, but what happens forever in your soul. This is more than preference or personal growth or trying to improve your habits. This is about surrender or separation. This is about whether you step into the light or remain entangled in shadows you've convinced yourself you can manage. But the shadows are growing thicker, and they don't compromise. They pull you slowly, subtly, until you can no longer hear my voice without effort, until what once convicted you begins to comfort you, and what once felt wrong begins to feel normal. That's the deception of delay. It doesn't look like rebellion, but it ends in ruin. You cannot keep playing with both sides, hoping grace will keep you safe while you postpone your response. Yes, I am merciful, but I am also holy. And this holy moment requires a holy response, not tomorrow, not after one more night of indulgence, not after one more round of trying to figure it out on your own. You know what you need to do. I've made it unmistakably clear. I've confirmed it in ways only you would understand, in the quiet ache of your heart, in the restlessness of your mind, in the way the world has lost its taste and your soul keeps searching for something more. That's not a coincidence, that's me calling. And now, the call is louder than ever, because this moment won't last forever. The longer you wait, the more you will drift. The more you drift, the harder it becomes to return. Every yes delayed is a no disguised in comfort. Every compromise tolerated is an agreement made with emptiness. But even now, right now, your story doesn't have to end in regret. You can change the direction of your life in one single, obedient act. Say yes. Say yes to me fully, finally, completely. You've tried your way long enough. You've leaned on your understanding, depended on the approval of others, chased validation from places that only drained you. None of it worked, because none of it was me. I am not found in partial surrender or in carefully measured faith. I'm found in the moment where you fall to your knees and say, I can't do this anymore without you. That moment, that decision unlocks the eternity I placed in your heart before you ever took your first breath. You were made for this moment. And though the edge looks scary, the unknown looks wide, and the cost looks high, I promise you what's waiting on the other side of this decision will make every fear you conquer worth it. But you have to step. You have to choose. And you have to do it now. Because there is one decision that will define your eternity, and you are standing on its edge. There was a time when your prayers reached me with sincerity, pleas for more time, more clarity, more grace, and I answered them because I saw your heart even when it was confused. I gave you the space you needed to wrestle, to think, to wander a little, hoping you'd use that delay not as a hiding place but as a place of preparation. But now, even time itself is leaning toward you, calling out, pleading with your soul to stop stalling and start choosing. You've prayed, God, give me more time, and I did. I extended hours that weren't promised, stretched days you didn't earn, softened consequences you should have faced, just so you could come to me without shame. I made time pause for your sake, not because I had to, but because I loved you. But time is not eternal for decision-making. There is a clock in the spirit realm ticking down moments of opportunity. And while you've looked at your life thinking you still have plenty of space, heaven sees that you are standing at the edge of an appointed hour that will not return. You've misread the silence as absence, but the silence has been sacred, an invitation for you to come closer without distraction. But now that silence has turned to urgency, because every delay is making it harder for you to hear, harder for you to feel, harder for you to respond. Your heart isn't as tender as it once was. Conviction that once stirred you now fades within minutes. You scroll past divine messages. You numb the ache in your chest with empty distractions. You pretend like everything can wait. But time is praying for you now. Creation is groaning. Heaven is leaning in. Angels are holding their breath, not because you are lost forever, but because you are so close and yet still unwilling to step. What more do you want me to say that I haven't already said? What other sign do you need that I haven't already given? You've seen me move. You felt my spirit hover over you. You've heard my words spoken in ways too specific to be random. And still, you hesitate. But this moment isn't just about you anymore. There are assignments attached to your yes. There are people waiting for the ripple of your obedience. There are doors that won't open until you walk through this one. And if you don't respond now, the consequence will be loud, it will be subtle. A drifting. A dullness. A settling into a life you were never meant to live. I don't want that for you. It's why I'm pressing in again. Through this message, through these words, through the ache you feel even now reading this. It's me. Still reaching. Still bleeding. Still waiting. But I cannot wait forever. Time is not your enemy, but it's not your servant either. You were not given these moments to squander them in delay or spiritual sleep. Time is not the answer to your indecision. Surrender is. And the clock is speaking now in rhythms your soul can feel, even if your mind tries to silence it. Heaven has not forgotten you, but heaven is watching, waiting for the sound of your yes. You've prayed for more time, but now time is praying for you to decide. Peace has never been something you stumble into by accident. It is not found in the next phase of life, the next achievement, or the next relationship. You've been hoping that if you wait long enough, circumstances will calm down, stress will disappear, emotions will stabilize, and then, somehow, peace will arrive like a gift wrapped in calm. But peace was never meant to be a place you arrive at, it is a person you pursue. You've been chasing comfort in all the wrong directions, thinking that if everything aligns perfectly, you'll finally breathe freely. But the truth is, life rarely aligns the way you expect, and waiting for peace to find you has only left you emptier and more exhausted. You were not meant to survive in cycles of stress, tension, and pretending to be okay. It's not strength, it's silent suffering. And I've seen every moment of it. I've watched you cry in rooms filled with people. I've heard the heaviness in your laugh and the weight behind your silence. I've witnessed you smile while breaking inside, all while hoping peace would just appear and take the pain away. But peace doesn't show up when you avoid me. Peace enters the room when you press into me, even when your knees are trembling. I am not a distant promise, I am your ever-present help, the anchor in your chaos, the whisper in your storm. You keep asking for peace like it's a prize to be earned, but I have always been available, waiting for you to run, not walk to me. The longer you wait, the louder the world becomes, and the more distorted your perspective grows. That's why confusion has started sounding like logic, and fear has started to feel like wisdom. But confusion is not your portion. Fear is not your inheritance. You were made for clarity, for boldness, for truth, and all of that begins with me. Peace will never walk into a heart that is closed to my presence. You can light every candle, read every book, listen to every calming psalm, and still feel like you're drowning, because peace isn't in rituals, it's in relationship. And the relationship is only activated when you stop running from me and start running toward me. You've been surviving for too long when I designed you to thrive. You've been managing chaos when I called you to walk in calm authority. But that shift won't happen by accident. It won't come by simply hoping things get better. It will come when you collapse into my arms and stop trying to carry burdens I never asked you to lift. Peace is not the absence of trouble, it's the presence of me in the middle of it. The world won't tell you this, but I will. You don't need to wait for things to get easier before you come to me. You come to me, and things begin to align. Not always externally, but internally. Because the real war is inside, and I'm ready to speak be still into the parts of you that haven't rested in years. You've waited long enough. You've begged for peace to arrive. But now it's time for you to move. Time to pursue me like your life depends on it, because it does. I am not far from you. I'm right here. I'm the calm you've been craving, the stillness your soul is starving for. But I won't force my way into your chaos, you have to invite me in. You have to make the decision to stop trying to fix everything alone and come back to the one who holds everything together. Don't wait for peace to come to you, run to the one who is peace. Distraction isn't always loud, obvious, or destructive at first glance. Sometimes it looks like small delays, tiny compromises, a little more scrolling, one more excuse, a few more hours lost to things that offer no real return. And that is exactly how the enemy works. He doesn't always show up with chaos. Sometimes he shows up with comfort. He knows he can't destroy what I've placed in you, so instead, he tries to delay it, water it down, and divide your attention until your purpose becomes blurry and your urgency fades into apathy. You felt this without even realizing it. The days that seemed to slip away, the energy you gave to things that numbed your heart, the decisions you avoided making because they required surrender, all of it designed not just to distract you from my voice, but to rob you of your moment. What's about to happen is too significant for you to be spiritually asleep. There's a shift taking place, and heaven is aligning things in your favor, but if you remain tangled in what does not matter, you will miss the doors I've opened just for you. The enemy knows how close you are to breakthrough, and that is why the distractions have increased. He's not threatened by the past version of you, but he is terrified of what happens if you finally say yes to me with your whole heart. He trembles at the thought of your full surrender because he knows the chain reaction it will set off. That's why your mind has felt more cluttered lately, why your motivation has felt unstable, why your prayer life has felt harder to maintain. He's not just distracting you to waste time, he's trying to drain your spiritual strength so you don't have the clarity to respond when I call. But I'm clearing the fog now. I'm uncovering the deception. Every small distraction that seemed harmless is exposed for what it is, a tactic meant to keep you from what is holy, necessary, and now. You cannot fight what you refuse to recognize. You cannot walk forward if your hands are full of what I've told you to let go. I'm not calling you into busyness, I'm calling you into focus. And that means severing the ties that keep pulling you backward, unplugging from voices that speak fear more than faith, and setting your eyes back on me. This isn't about guilt, it's about awakening. Because what I'm about to release in your life won't wait for you to catch up. The doors I'm opening will require preparation, attention, and obedience. You can't carry old distractions into a new season. You can't expect fresh oil to be poured into vessels that are already full of noise. So choose what matters. Out of what's wasting you. Turn down the volume of the world so you can finally hear the clarity that's been waiting for you. I am not far. I am near. But I will compete with what you allow to dominate your heart. You have the authority to shut the doors the enemy is using to keep you disconnected. Use it. Rise. Focus. Because what's coming requires your full attention, and the enemy wants nothing more than for you to miss what I'm about to do. The enemy wants you distracted, so you miss what's about to happen, but today, you see it. Now decide what you're willing to lay down so you can rise into everything I've been preparing. Perfection has never been the requirement, and yet it's the lie that's kept you frozen for so long. The idea that you have to be spotless before you can be used, flawless before you can be loved, completely healed before you can be called. But that's not the gospel, and that's not what I've ever asked of you. I see how hard you've tried to keep it all together, thinking that your value is tied to your performance, believing that until you get everything right, you're not worthy to come closer. But I'm not standing here waiting for your perfection, I'm waiting for your permission. Not permission for me to love you, I already do. But permission to move in your life without the resistance of your pride, your guilt, or your self-condemnation. I never called you to be perfect. I called you to be real. I called you to come as you are, with the wounds still bleeding, the doubts still stirring, the mess still visible, and simply say, "Here I am." That's what surrender is. Not a performance, not a presentation, just your yes. But somewhere along the way, you started believing that I only use the strong, the disciplined, the ones who seem to have it all together. You see others who seem bold, confident, unshaken, and you assume they've never battled what you're battling now. But you don't see the secret surrender that took place in their private battles, the moments they dropped everything just to fall at my feet and say, "I need you." That's where power begins, not in striving, but in surrender. The enemy has been feeding you shame disguised as humility, telling you to wait until you fixed yourself before you come to me. But you can't fix what I was always meant to heal. You can't cleanse what only my blood can wash. You can't climb your way out of what you need to lay down. And every moment you spend trying to be perfect before coming to me is a moment wasted in silence, distance, and weariness. I never asked for polished prayers or flawless faith, I asked for an open heart. A heart that says, even if I'm still struggling, I choose you. That's what moves heaven. That's what breaks chains. That's what opens doors. Surrender is not about giving me your best moments, it's about giving me your real ones. It's when you admit you can't carry the weight anymore, and instead of pretending, you finally place it in my hands. I don't flinch at your weakness, I cover it. I don't retreat from your sin, I redeem it. I don't reject your flaws, I wrap them in grace and begin transforming you from the inside out. But it starts with surrender. And surrender starts when you stop trying to earn what was already freely given. I'm not waiting for you to become the version of yourself you wish you were, I'm calling the version you are right now. Because I can work with honest. I can move through broken. I can anoint surrender more than I can ever bless perfect. You've delayed for too long because you believed the lie that you had to be clean to be close. But I'm telling you now, come close and I will make you clean. Stop exhausting yourself trying to qualify for something I already chose you for. The doorway is not perfection, it's surrender. And you can walk through it right now. I am not asking for perfection. I am asking for your surrender. Every time you hesitate, every time you choose safety over obedience, every time you talk yourself out of the step you know you were meant to take, something sacred inside you is quietly being drained. Not all loss looks like disaster. Some of the most tragic losses happen in slow, invisible leaks. You think you're simply waiting, thinking things through, being cautious, but what's really happening is that your calling is being thinned, diluted by indecision, poisoned by the lies that tell you later is safe. Destiny isn't always stolen in a moment, it often dies in delay. You were created for impact, but impact requires motion. And without it, the fire I placed inside you becomes smoke, the vision becomes blurred, and the voice that once burned in your soul gets drowned out by the distractions you keep justifying. The dreams I planted in you are not dead, but they are gasping for air under the weight of your delays. You don't see it fully now, but the longer you wait, the more you begin to adapt to the life you were never meant to settle for. You begin to normalize disappointment, accept spiritual apathy, and slowly stop expecting more from me, not because I stopped offering it, but because you stopped reaching for it. That's the bleeding I'm talking about, the quiet decay of destiny when obedience is postponed. And it's not that you meant to walk away. You told yourself you were just pausing. You told yourself you were being careful, praying for the right time. But deep down, you know the right time was the moment you first felt the conviction. You knew. You heard me. You felt the pull. But fear disguised itself as logic, and the more you listened to it, the more you lost momentum. And now here you are, drained not because you're weak, but because you're carrying what I told you to release, and avoiding what I called you to run toward. That internal exhaustion, that restlessness you can't explain, that numbness that creeps in when you think about your purpose. It's the result of a soul that's been bleeding from spiritual hesitation. And still, I haven't turned my face away. I haven't taken your calling back. I haven't closed the door, but it's narrowing, and I'm urging you to step through before you lose the strength to respond. Your delays costing you opportunities you can't even see yet, conversations you were meant to have, people you were meant to reach, places you were meant to go. Every moment matters because every second carries weight in eternity. I don't say this to shame you, I say it because I don't want to see what I created in you be wasted in cycles of regret. You still have time. You still have me. But you can't keep bleeding destiny and expect to feel fulfilled. You weren't made to survive life, you were made to walk in the full power of the assignment I've written over your life. And that begins not with perfection, but with movement. You don't have to know every step. You just have to stop waiting and take the one I'm pointing to. Trust that I will meet you there. Trust that I will heal what hesitation has harmed. Trust that obedience will restore what delay has drained. But act now. Move now. Decide now. Your delay is costing you more than you realize. It's bleeding your destiny dry. You keep thinking there will be another moment like this, another opportunity that looks the same, feels the same, carries the same weight, but there won't be. Moments like this are not recycled. They are sovereign. They are stitched into eternity, unique in purpose, and they carry a divine urgency that cannot be replicated. You are standing in a now that heaven designed for your awakening, and if you let it pass, you may find yourself searching for something that no longer exists in the same form. You don't realize the gravity of this hour because it feels ordinary on the outside, but in the spirit realm, everything is trembling. The veil between delay and destiny is thinner than ever, and what you do right here, right now, determines whether you walk forward or stay stuck in cycles that only know how to repeat pain. You have been given grace after grace, but grace doesn't mean every opportunity waits forever. You've prayed for God to move, and now He is, but not in the way you expected. He's not coming with flashing signs or the feeling of being completely ready. He's moving in the silence, the stirring, the pull you feel in your chest that you've been trying to ignore. That's not anxiety. It's the sound of time announcing that it's about to move forward, with or without your decision. Doors don't always slam when they close, sometimes they just slowly swing shut, unnoticed until you reach for them again and realize they're sealed. And while I never leave you, I cannot guarantee that this exact alignment of time, spirit, and calling will come again. That's why the enemy wants you numb right now. That's why he's using distractions and doubts and spiritual fatigue to convince you that this isn't urgent. But it is. More than you know. Because the moment you're in isn't just about what's happening around you, it's about what heaven is trying to do within you. You're being invited into a shift that could reroute your entire life, a divine detour from everything that's been draining you into something that breathes life into places you forgot existed. But if you hesitate again, if you let this moment slip through your fingers because you're waiting for certainty, for perfection, for validation from people who don't even know the calling on your life, you may wake up one day and realize that what was meant to be your launch point became your greatest regret. You'll remember this hour, not because of what happened, but because of what you didn't do. And I don't want that for you. I've brought you too far, whispered too many truths, and covered you through too many storms for you to miss this. The next chapter I've written requires your yes now. Not a version of you with all the answers, but the version of you that's finally ready to say, I won't let this pass me by. This isn't about forcing yourself to feel brave, it's about trusting me enough to move even while afraid. This moment is sacred. It's heavy with promise, and it will not linger. Don't hold it with open hands and then watch it fall away because of fear. Don't let comfort lie to you and say next time. There may not be a next time like this. This moment is not coming back once it slips through your fingers, so hold it, honor it, respond to it. Now, the tension you can't explain, that subtle stirring inside of you when everything goes quiet, that sense that something more is tugging at your heart even while your life looks the same on the surface, that's not coincidence. That's me. That's the echo of your true identity trying to break through the surface of what you've been pretending to be. You've become used to hiding, adapting, molding yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain you. You've mastered the art of smiling through battles, appearing steady while storms rage within, performing strength in rooms that never earned your vulnerability. But I see through all of it. I see you, the real you. And I know that deep beneath the layers of exhaustion, pride, fear, and defense, there is a soul crying to be seen, to be known, to be free. That pull you feel when you're alone, the ache that rises when the noise fades, that's your spirit responding to my call. I am not asking you to be louder, to be bolder for show, or to rise in the eyes of others. I am calling you to step out of hiding, not to shame you, but to heal you. I've watched you keep parts of yourself in the shadows, believing they were too broken to be seen, too complicated to be understood, too damaged to be used. But what you've hidden from the world, I already knew, and I've been calling you into the light, not to expose you, but to restore you. Because nothing gets healed in the dark. Nothing transforms in secrecy. The enemy wants you to stay covered in half-truths and silent suffering, because as long as you remain in hiding, your true power is locked away. But I have not called you to a life of quiet despair and spiritual fragmentation. I've called you to step into the fullness of who I created you to be: bold, not boastful, free, not fearful, restored, not rehearsed. That means pulling back the curtain and coming into the open. That means confronting what you've suppressed, facing what you've avoided, surrendering what you've refused to name. The darkness will always promise you safety, but it can never offer healing. Only the light does that. And I am the light. I'm not afraid of what you're hiding. I'm not ashamed of the parts you buried. I'm not intimidated by your brokenness. I'm drawn to it. Because I know that the greatest testimonies are born from the places you thought were beyond repair. You've believed the lie that coming into the light means judgment, but I am not calling you out to shame you. I'm calling you out because I want to clothe you in grace, arm you with truth, and send you into purpose that was waiting for you to stop pretending. There is a power you have yet to walk in because it lives outside the shadows. And now is the time. You don't need to be ready, you just need to be willing. Take the step. Say the truth. Cry the tears. Lift your face toward me. I will not turn away. I will meet you in the light. Because you feel the pull in your spirit for a reason, I am calling you out of the shadows, into a freedom that can't exist where you're hiding. This is the moment where compromise must end, because no matter how much light you're exposed to, you can't truly walk in it if you're still tethered to the very darkness you've been called out from. You've tried to straddle both sides, to keep one foot in the comfort of your old patterns and the other reaching toward freedom, but it's not working, and deep down, you know it. The tension you're feeling isn't random, it's the fracture of a divided soul trying to serve two masters, carry two identities, and keep two stories alive at once. But light and darkness cannot coexist. One must give way to the other. And the longer you cling to what I already told you to release, the more you suffocate the brightness I'm trying to lead you into. I haven't called you into partial transformation. I've called you to full surrender, not because I demand control, but because I know how darkness works. It doesn't ask for your whole life at once, it asks for a little compromise here, a small lie there, a tolerated habit, an ignored conviction. Slowly, it takes hold. And before you realize it, your heart starts adjusting to what once made you tremble. But you weren't meant to live in spiritual confusion. You weren't designed to dim your fire so others feel more comfortable. I set you apart for more, and the more can only be found when you stop negotiating with shadows. You can't hear my voice clearly when you're still lending your ear to the whispers of your old life. You can't walk boldly when your ankles are chained to guilt you were never meant to carry. And you can't shine with purity when your hands are still reaching for things you know are pulling you back. This is your line in the sand moment. I'm not asking for perfection, but I am requiring honesty. You have to choose. Light is calling, but it won't drag you. It's a door that opens when you let go of what's behind you. And I know letting go is hard. I know those habits brought you comfort. Those connections gave you false identity. Those sins masked your wounds. But I didn't create you to survive with bandages. I came to heal you completely. And that healing begins the moment you release the darkness. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to justify it. You need to break agreement with it. Cut the tie. Renounce the lie. Walk away even if your knees shake and your voice cracks. I will meet you in the light, but you must make the move. Because light will mix with what some glean. You keep wondering why you feel spiritually numb, why your prayers feel heavy, why your joy feels blocked, but how can I pour living water into a heart that still welcomes poison? It's time to choose. Let this be the moment you finally say, no more. No more compromise. No more hiding. No more pretending you can manage what's meant to be destroyed. Let darkness fall from your life like chains shattered by truth. Let clarity return. Let peace rush in. But it will only come when you drop the hand of what's been holding you back. You can't walk in light while still holding hands with darkness. And right now, I'm offering you the strength to let go. You keep asking why the breakthrough hasn't come yet, why the prayers you've whispered in tears feel unanswered, why the promises you're holding on to still feel distant, and the truth is, it's not because I haven't heard you, or that I've changed my mind. It's because the very things you've allowed to stay in your life, the compromises you thought were harmless, the excuses you've built around your wounds, the patterns you've normalized have become the very walls blocking the flow of what I'm trying to release. You don't see how small concessions have slowly added up, how the little things you tolerated in secret have become spiritual barriers in the unseen. Every time you said, "It's just one more time," or "It's not that big a deal," or "I'll deal with it later," you gave ground to the very forces that are now standing between you and the breakthrough you desperately need. I am not withholding from you. I am not teasing you with distant blessings. I am trying to clear a path, but I won't force my way through what you've chosen to keep. Your breakthrough is not on pause because of me, it's paused because you've made agreements with things that are out of alignment with where I'm taking you. That hidden habit, that unrepented sin, that bitter grudge you refuse to let go of, that voice you keep listening to even though it pulls you away from me, those are not small. They are the very chains anchoring you in delay. You say you're waiting on me, but I've been waiting on you to tear down the altars you built in the name of comfort and call them what they are, idols. And I don't say this to condemn you, I say it to awaken you. Because every compromise you let live is robbing you of what I died to give you. You were meant to walk in freedom, in clarity, in power. But power can't flow through a vessel filled with contradiction. You can't expect the fullness of heaven while still giving the enemy access to the back door of your heart. I know some of your compromises came from pain, from seasons where you didn't know how to cope, from moments where survival felt like the only option. I understand that. I've seen it. But now I'm calling you higher. I'm calling you out. Not because I want to take something from you, but because I want to give something to you, and your hands must be empty to receive it. You cannot carry your breakthrough and your compromise at the same time. Something has to be dropped. And only one leads to the freedom you've been crying out for in silence. I will give you the strength to break what you think you're too weak to release. I will give you the grace to heal from what once held you hostage. But I will not force it. This is your moment to say enough. To choose breakthrough over bondage. To say, I'm done settling for less when God has promised more. Because it is ready, it is near, but your obedience is the key. Let go of what's blocking you. Tear down what's standing in the way. Burn the bridges to compromise and watch the fire become your altar. Every compromise you've made is standing in the way of your breakthrough, but your breakthrough is still possible if you're willing to give me everything. There's a reason people have been walking away, why certain doors have closed, why opportunities you thought were yours suddenly vanished, and it's not because I'm withholding something from you or punishing you for your past. It's because I'm protecting what I've placed inside you. You see loss, but I see preservation. You feel rejection, but I see redirection. I am removing access to the parts of your life that can no longer go with you where I'm taking you. You've prayed for elevation, for peace, for clarity, or destiny, but all of those require separation. You can't walk in divine purpose while dragging along weights I've called you to lay down. Some of the voices you're missing were never meant to speak into your future. Some of the places you're longing to return to were only meant to be temporary assignments, not permanent homes. And if I didn't separate you, you'd still be clinging to environments that numb your faith and suffocate your growth. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it feels like loneliness at times. But I am more concerned with your calling than your comfort. I am after the purity of your purpose. And that means pulling you out of rooms where your spirit was slowly being poisoned by comparison, compromise, and spiritual distraction. You've mistaken connection for covering. Not every relationship is covenant. Not every open door is divine. Some of what you called favor was actually a trap to keep you stuck in cycles that looked like success but led to spiritual dryness. So I'm cutting the ties. Not to hurt you, but to heal you. I know the voices you're missing feel familiar, but I need you to stop grieving what I've already removed for your protection. I didn't call you to be understood by everyone. I didn't choose you so you could blend, and I chose you so you could rise, even if that rise means walking alone for a season. Separation isn't rejection, it's preparation. It's the wilderness before the release. It's where I strip away what's false and strengthen what's true. It's where I isolate you not to break you down, but to build you up without interference. I am removing distractions disguised as loyalty. I'm clearing noise that's been masquerading as support. Because what's coming next requires sharper discernment, deeper roots, and undivided attention. You can't bring old baggage into new battles. You can't carry old voices into new seasons. The higher you go, the more narrow the path becomes. And I'm asking you to trust me with the losses, with the unanswered questions, with the relationships that ended without closure. I am in control even in the pruning, even in the silence, even when it looks like you've been forgotten. You haven't. You're being protected. I see the attacks forming in the distance, and I shield you before you even know they exist. That's why certain things didn't work out. That's why I made the exit look like failure when it was really favor. Don't fight to stay where grace has already lifted. Don't run back to what I've called you out from. What you lost in comfort, you will gain in clarity. And what I remove, I will always replace with something greater, something aligned with your anointing, not your old identity. I am separating you not to punish, but to protect you. And if you trust me in the separation, you'll see that what felt like loss was actually the start of your breakthrough. You say you want freedom. You say you're ready to walk into everything I've planned for you. But your fists are still closed around things I told you to release: people, patterns, habits, identities, memories, and expectations that were never meant to be permanent. You cannot rise while holding on to weights that were never yours to carry. You cannot soar while anchored to what you've refused to surrender. I see how tightly you're gripping that relationship, that opportunity, that version of yourself you thought you had to become in order to be loved or accepted. But it's those very things, those emotional attachments and spiritual entanglements, that are binding you to yesterday and keeping you from stepping into your now. I've whispered to your heart, nudged your spirit, and stirred your conscience, but still you hold on, convinced that if you let go, you'll fall. But what you don't see is that the fall you fear is actually the release your soul has been crying for. Letting go is not failure, it's faith. It's trust. It's the sacred decision to say, even if it hurts, even if it's hard, I'd rather be in your will empty-handed than outside of it while holding on to what's slowly killing me. You weren't created to cling to comfort or to idolize control. You were made to move with me, to shift when I say shift, to release when I say release, to open your hands and trust that what I place in them next will be better than what you've been clutching in fear. The thing you're holding on to is feeding your anxiety, draining your peace, clouding your clarity, and yet you keep convincing yourself you need it. But child, if it was truly from me, it wouldn't require you to constantly sacrifice your joy, your identity, and your sanity to maintain it. I don't bless you with burdens. I don't anoint you to be enslaved to what I never assigned to you. And deep down, you know this. You felt the shift. You sense that what once fit no longer feels right. You've seen the signs, I've made it clear. But every time you come to the edge of release, fear talks you out of it. You imagine the pain of absence more than the peace of obedience. But I'm calling you higher now, and that climb requires letting go. This is the place where real growth begins, the moment you trust me enough to lose what was never truly yours. Some of what you're clinging to only served you for a season, and now that season is over. You can mourn it, but don't return to it. You can learn from it, but don't stay bound by it. The blessing is ahead, not behind, and every step into your future requires a release from your past. You've been circling this mountain long enough. Break the tie. Burn the bridge. Cut the cord. Do it afraid, if you must, but do it. Because as long as your hands are full of what I didn't give you, they'll never be ready to receive what I'm about to pour. The next level isn't waiting for you to prove your strength, it's waiting for you to surrender what's keeping you weak. What you're clinging to is what's keeping you bound. Let go, and watch what I'll do with your empty hands. Shame will always try to convince you that your past is your prison, that your mistakes have forever disqualified you from walking in my purpose. But that is the lie that's kept too many bound for far too long. I never required a flawless history to call someone forward. What I look for is a willing heart, one that's ready to make a new decision in the face of an old pattern. What you've done is not your identity, and it's certainly not your ending. But if you keep rehearsing your regrets and building your worth around your wounds, you'll never step into the freedom that was bought for you with blood. I didn't come to remind you of your failures, I came to redeem them. I didn't come to shame you with your history, I came to write it with glory. The enemy wants you stuck in the loop of self-blame, guilt, and unworthiness, because as long as your eyes are fixed on what's behind you, you'll never move toward what's ahead. But I'm not looking at your past the way you are. I'm not grading your life like a scorecard, keeping track of your flaws and shortcomings. I'm standing at the crossroads of now, asking if you'll trust me enough to choose differently this time. Because no matter how many wrong turns you've taken, one right step in the direction of surrender can shift everything. Your breakthrough isn't waiting on you to be perfect, it's waiting on you to respond. You don't have to undo what's already been done. You simply have to stop giving it power to define your next decision. I see every scar, every failure, every time you knew better but didn't do better, and still, my hand is extended. Still, my plan for you is alive. Still, heaven hasn't counted you out. You think the delay disqualified you, but I specialize in redeeming lost time. You think the damage is too deep, but I am the God who speaks life into dry bones and beauty into ashes. You think you failed too many times, but I already factored your weakness into my calling. What matters now is not how many times you've fallen, it's what you choose in this moment. This is the fork in the road. The moment you stop rehearsing who you were and start embracing who you're still called to be. The enemy says you've gone too far. I say you're one decision away. The enemy says it's too late. I say I make all things new. So the question isn't, can you be restored? It's, will you let me? Because what happens next is no longer determined by what happened before, it's determined by your willingness to respond to my voice right now. This is where everything shifts. This is the choice that changes not just the trajectory of your life, but the legacy that flows from it. Don't let shame speak louder than truth. Don't let your past speak louder than my promise. Don't let the delay convince you that destiny has passed you by. It hasn't. I'm here. I'm ready. And I'm waiting not for your apology, but for your yes. This is not about what you've done, but what you choose next, and everything you've been longing for is on the other side of that choice. This isn't a season for halfway faith, delayed responses, or lukewarm surrender. This is the moment that separates what was from what will be. And I'm standing before you not with clenched fists but with open arms, inviting you into a decision that will define more than just your days, it will define your eternity. You've tasted enough of the world to know it leaves you empty, and you've felt just enough of me to know there's something deeper calling. And now the tension you feel in your soul, the urgency that keeps pressing in even when you try to silence it, that is the sound of heaven leaning in, waiting to see what you will do with this one chance. Not one of many, not one of countless, but because there are moments in time that carry a weight so holy, so specifically crafted by my hand, that ignoring them isn't just delay, it becomes disobedience. I've watched you wrestle, wavered, wonder, wish, and wait. I've seen you get close enough to transformation to feel its heat, but then back away when the cost felt too high. But what do you call cost and I call exchange? You give me your ruin, I give you redemption. You hand me your fear, I give you faith. You surrender your control, I release your calling. It is not loss, it is alignment. But I cannot force you into what I've prepared. I cannot drag you into purpose while you're still choosing comfort. I cannot pour the fullness of my spirit into a vessel that's only half available. This is your moment to say yes, not the kind of yes that fades after emotion wears off, but the kind that alters everything, the kind that silences the enemy's grip and shifts the entire direction of your life, the kind that hell fears and heaven celebrates. What it must be full. It must be now. You don't get to choose when the door remains open, only whether you walk through it while it is. And right now, it still is. But hesitation will close it. Not because I am unkind, but because delay reveals divided desire, and I do not share space with what's trying to destroy you. You must choose. Fully. Not in word, but in action. Not just in public, but in secret. In your thoughts, your habits, your relationships, your daily decisions. I'm not asking for a part of you, I'm asking for all. Because I gave all. I didn't hold back on the cross, and I won't accept a half-hearted response in return. Not because I'm cruel, but because anything less than full surrender will leave you trapped in cycles of spiritual defeat. This is your exit. This is your rescue. This is your invitation to finally step out of the gray area and into the glorious clarity of being mine. Entirely mine. No backup plans. No conditions. No delays. Just a yes that writes everything. I know it's scary. I know it's unknown. But it's real. And it's now. This is not just another emotional moment. This is a divine appointment. A holy invitation. A final call. You have one shot to choose me fully, and the time is now. You haven't imagined the chaos. You haven't made up the pressure, the spiritual fatigue, the heaviness that hangs over your heart when no one's watching. The storm around you is real, and I'm not minimizing it or pretending it isn't trying to break you. The winds that are blowing against your mind, the lies whispering louder than truth, the temptation to give into despair or numbness, it's not in your head, and I see it. You're walking through something weighty, and the enemy would love nothing more than for you to believe you're on your own in this fight. But what he doesn't want you to realize is that while the storm is raging, I have already positioned your rescue. Before you even felt the first drop of fear, I had already mapped a way out. I never promised you wouldn't face darkness, but I did promise you wouldn't face it alone. I've hidden provision in the very place the enemy wanted you to drown. I've assigned angels to surround you when no one else showed up. I've kept your heart beating when you thought it would break. And if you've made it this far, it's not by accident, it's because I've been holding you, even when you didn't feel it. But now, I'm not just holding you, I'm calling you to move. Because rescue isn't just me dragging you out of danger, it's you choosing to trust me in the middle of it. I know the storm looks overwhelming. I know everything in your logic screams to stay still, to wait for the wind to stop, to delay until things feel safe again. But faith was never built on safe. It's built on stepping out even while the waves rise, on choosing my voice over the noise of the wind, on daring to believe that if I called you, I will carry you. This storm will not destroy you unless you let fear convince you to stop moving. You don't need perfect conditions to be rescued. You just need surrender. You just need to lift your eyes, open your hands, and step forward when everything in you wants to hide. My outstretched arm is stronger than the storm. My presence is more powerful than the pressure. But I won't compete with your fear. You must choose what you listen to. The rescue I've prepared won't always look the way you imagine. It might come through obedience that costs you your comfort. It might come through humility, through releasing control, through admitting you can't do it on your own anymore. But it will come. And it's here. If you will reach for me, you will find I was never far. I've been in the storm, speaking to it, holding it back from overtaking you completely. But now it's your turn to respond. The waves have taught you what's weak, but now they're revealing what's true. I am your anchor. I am your shelter. And even as the winds howl, you are closer than ever to your breakthrough. Don't give up now. Don't let the darkness convince you that this is the end. What feels like the breaking point is really the turning point. The storm you see is real, but so is the rescue I prepared for you. Take my hand. Step into the safety that doesn't depend on silence but on me. Even in the moments when you felt like a stranger to yourself, when shame convinced you that you drifted too far, that your choices had written you out of my story, I never erased your name from my heart. I never changed my mind about you. The mess you think disqualifies you has not silenced my calling. The silence you've been drowning in doesn't mean I stopped speaking. It means I've been waiting for you to stop running. I've seen every detour, every fall, every night you said, "I'll come back tomorrow," and then didn't. But my mercy didn't expire while you wandered. It followed you. It stood guard in your absence. It protected your purpose while you were still playing with distractions that couldn't satisfy you. And now, even with all that weight pressing down on your shoulders, with all those regrets flooding your mind, grace is still standing at the door calling you by name. Not the name others gave you, not the label your past tried to stamp on you, but the name I gave you before you ever took your first breath. Chosen, loved, mine. You've convinced yourself that you need to clean up before you can come home. But the truth is, the coming home is what cleanses you. You don't find healing by hiding, you find it by coming out of the shadows and collapsing into my arms with nothing left to offer but yourself. That's enough. That's always been enough. You can't outrun what I've already forgiven. You can't bury what I've already resurrected. I know what they said. I know what you believed. I know how many times you tried to start over and fell back. But your failure is not final unless you choose to stay fallen. And I'm here, not asking for perfection, not asking for eloquence, not even asking for strength. I'm just asking for a yes. A yes that says, I'm still willing. A yes that says, even now, I believe there's more. Because there is. There is more. More mercy. More healing. More destiny. More purpose. And it's not for the person you wish you were, it's for you. Right now. As you are. With the dirt still on your hands and the tears still in your eyes. I haven't forgotten you. I haven't replaced you. I haven't stopped believing in what I planted in you. But now is the moment to come out of hiding. Now is the moment to silence the lie that says it's too late. Because as long as you have breath, grace still knows your name. And if you let me, I'll rebuild what you thought was ruined, restore what you thought was lost, and reintroduce you to the version of you that the enemy hoped would never rise. You're not too far gone. Grace still knows your name, and I'm still calling it. This isn't about fear, it's about urgency. It's not my anger chasing you down. It's my love refusing to let you sleep through a moment that eternity will remember. I'm not shaking the ground beneath you to make you afraid. I'm doing it to make you aware. Aware of what's at stake. Aware of how much you've tolerated that I never asked you to carry. Aware of how your soul has settled for survival when I created you to walk in freedom. The shaking in your spirit. The unease you can't explain. The feeling that something is shifting even when life on the surface seems unchanged. That's me sounding the alarm in a language your heart understands. I've whispered. I've waited. I've wrapped you in grace. But now I'm raising my voice not to threaten you, but to awaken you from the spiritual sleep that has dulled your hunger, blurred your vision, and softened your convictions. You've grown comfortable in compromise, and I love you too much to let you stay there. I see the danger that's closer than you realize, the deception that's wrapping around you in the name of convenience, the lies you've started to believe because truth has grown quiet in your life. But I won't let the silence win. I won't let your numbness define the rest of your story. So if it feels like your peace is being disrupted, if it feels like everything around you is shaking, it's because I'm waking you up before something breaks that can't be undone. Not because I'm cruel, but because I'm committed to your rescue. Because the next step you take matters. Because time is shifting, and what you do in this moment has consequences not just for you but for everything I've connected to your obedience. You keep asking for peace, but peace doesn't come before surrender, it comes after. And I'm asking for your full surrender now, not as a demand, but as an invitation back to life, to light, to the version of you that hasn't yet been fully revealed. This is not a warning born out of wrath, it's a wake-up call born out of mercy. Because if I didn't care, I'd stay silent. If I'd given up on you, I'd let you drift. But I haven't, and I won't. I am calling your name louder than the voices that have distracted you. I'm stirring your heart deeper than the numbness that's tried to settle in. I'm shaking everything that can be shaken so only what is eternal will remain. Don't mistake the shaking for abandonment, it is protection. Don't confuse conviction with condemnation, it is alignment. This is your turning point. This is your moment of clarity. This is where you choose whether you keep sleeping through the alarm or finally rise into the identity that hell has been trying to bury. I am not trying to scare you, I am trying to wake you, because your story isn't over, but the time to respond is now. How many times have you whispered in silence, God, if this is really you, show me? How often have you pleaded for signs, for clarity, for unmistakable direction because deep down, you were afraid to act on what you already knew in your spirit? I heard every word. I saw every moment you stared at the ceiling, hoping for a message loud enough to override your fear. And now here it is, not wrapped in thunder or lightning, but wrapped in this very moment, this undeniable tug you feel in your chest, this divine interruption piercing through your distractions. This is the confirmation you've been begging for. Not because you lack faith entirely, but because you've been overwhelmed by the noise of your doubt. I've spoken to you before through songs, through people, through dreams, through moments that made your heart pause. And still you asked, was that really you? So I'm speaking again, clearly, firmly, lovingly, not to convince you of my existence, but to remind you that I haven't stopped calling. You don't need a more dramatic sign. You need to respond to the signs I've already sent. You don't need another open door, you need the courage to walk through the one that's been standing wide open in front of you while you stood still, waiting for something easier. But clarity doesn't always come before obedience, it often follows it. What you call confusion is sometimes just delayed obedience wearing a disguise. You prayed, speak to me, and I have. You said, confirm it, and I am. But you must stop pretending you didn't hear me just because the calling makes you uncomfortable. Stop waiting for me to repeat myself when I've already been echoing my will in every direction around you. You asked for confirmation, and this is it. Right now. These words. This moment. Not tomorrow. Not in a month. Now. And it's not just confirmation for your mind, it's a call to move your feet. The time for circling is over. The time for rehearsing reasons and weighing fears and comparing timelines is done. If you don't act on this now, it's not because you weren't sure, it's because you chose fear over faith, comfort over calling, control over surrender. But I'm offering you this final moment of clarity as a gift. You will get another one just like it. This window is specific. This word is direct. This moment is marked. And the next part of your story depends on how you respond. Don't wait for the right time, this is it. Don't wait for another voice, this is mine. Don't wait for lightning, this is the light. You've asked for confirmation, but this is it. And I'm not giving it to overwhelm you, I'm giving it to awaken you, because I still believe you'll say yes. You've started to wonder if I've gone quiet, if my voice has grown distant because of something you did, or something you failed to do. You've questioned if you somehow lost my presence, if you missed the moment, if I've moved on without you. But what you're experiencing right now isn't abandonment, it's sacred space. Space I've carved out intentionally for you to respond, not because I'm far away, but because I've already said what needed to be said. I've already poured out the invitations, whispered the confirmations, opened the doors. Now I'm pausing not in anger, but in holy anticipation. I'm giving room for your voice. Because I don't just want obedience born out of pressure, I want surrender that comes from love. I want your yes to be real, not reactive. So the silence isn't me withdrawing from you, it's me stepping back just enough for you to step forward. This is the space where decisions are made, where intentions are tested, where faith becomes more than feelings. It's easy to follow when you're being carried by signs and wonders, when every moment feels filled with supernatural clarity. But true surrender often happens in the quiet, where the only thing you're left with is choice. I know that silence can feel heavy, even painful. I know your mind tries to fill it with fear and second-guessing. But don't misinterpret it. My silence isn't rejection, it's an invitation into trust. It's me saying, I've shown you enough. Now I want to see what you'll do with it. I want to know if your heart will still lean toward me when there's no fresh word, no new sign, no emotional high. Because the depth of your relationship with me isn't proven when I'm loud, it's proven when you're willing to move forward even when I'm whispering. And I am still whispering. Just not in the same way. Right now, I'm letting the weight of your own decision settle into your soul, not to crush you, but to awaken the authority I've placed in you to choose life, to choose obedience, to choose me. You've been asking, where are you, Lord? And I'm answering, I'm right, where I've always been, waiting for you to step out of hesitation and into alignment. You're not lost. You're not forsaken. You're standing in the quiet field of divine invitation, and heaven is holding its breath to see if you'll answer. His silence is holy. It's the sacred moment before the shift. And what you do in the silence will either move you into breakthrough or push you back into delay. So don't panic. Don't numb it. Don't run from it. Stand in it. Listen in it. Respond in it. Because I'm not far, I'm close enough to hear your whisper. And I'm not finished, I'm simply making room for your answer. The silence you feel isn't absence, it's space for your answer. And I'm listening. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but right now, in this very moment, the ground beneath your feet has shifted, not because of where you are in the world, but because of where you are in the Spirit. This isn't just another day, another decision, another turn in your journey. This is sacred territory. This is the threshold where heaven is close, where eternity leans in, where the weight of your yes has the power to open doors that generations before you only dreamed of. And that's why the pressure feels heavier, why your spirit feels more alert, why your heart beats differently in this moment, because the spiritual atmosphere around you is not casual. You are standing on holy ground, not marked by outward signs, but by my presence saturating the unseen. And your next step carries more than your comfort, it carries consequences that ripple far beyond what you can immediately perceive. You've cried out for purpose, begged for direction, asked for clarity, and I've led you here. Not to confuse you, not to test you for punishment's sake, but because what you do next will either open the gates to what I've prepared or hold you in a place of delay you were never meant to live in. Don't think lightly of this moment. Don't dismiss the urgency in your soul. The reason it feels sacred is because it is. There are decisions that are personal, and then there are decisions that are prophetic. This one is both. This step isn't just about your own healing, your own restoration, your own peace. It's about the alignment of people connected to your obedience, divine assignments tied to your movement, and futures that will rise or fall based on what you decide in this pause. You are not just deciding for you, you're deciding for everyone who's supposed to be touched through your surrender. That's why it feels weighty. That's why the enemy is whispering so loudly, trying to distract you, confuse you, lure you back into indecision. Because he knows what's at stake if you move forward. He knows what will be broken if you say yes. He knows what chains will fall if you take one step. But I'm not calling you to focus on the fear. I'm calling you to focus on me. Fix your eyes. Remember who brought you here. Remember who carried you through the seasons where you didn't think you'd make it. You're not standing here by accident. You're here because I ordained this moment before you were even born. And now, the ground beneath you bears witness. You don't need more signs. You don't need to feel more ready. You just need to recognize the weight of the moment and honor it with obedience. There is no safer place to step than onto the path I've cleared before you. But you must step. Because holy ground isn't just where I show up, it's where you respond. And what you do here will echo into forever. You're standing on holy ground, and your next step matters more than you know. This is the hour when the unseen decisions carry more weight than the ones shouted from rooftops. You've been looking for breakthrough, waiting for doors to open, hoping for a moment when I lift you into visibility. But before I do anything public through you, I'm watching what you're choosing when no one's looking. It's not the stage that defines your strength, it's the silence. It's the quiet battles, the hidden obedience, the whispered yes in the shadows where no one applauds and no one sees. That's where I measure your readiness. You want me to show up in power, to use your life as a testimony, to release favor and clarity and provision. And I want those things for you, too. But you must understand my promotion follows purity, not performance. And purity begins in the hidden places. It's what you do when it's just you and me that unlocks what I've stored for you in the open. You say you're ready for the blessing, but are you ready to be trusted with it? Can you carry my glory without stealing credit for yourself? Can you receive what I give without turning it into an idol? Can you walk in the answer without compromising the posture that invited it in the first place? This is why I'm drawing you inward before I take you outward. This is why I've been refining your heart before I reveal your next chapter. I'm not withholding, I'm watching. I'm not punishing, I'm preparing. Because I will not release public power into a vessel still leaking in private. And I know the cost is high. I know it feels like no one sees the tears, the prayers, the sacrifices. But I see it all. Every time you say no to what your flesh wants because your spirit knows better. Every time you choose forgiveness in secret when revenge felt justified. Every time you close the door, fall on your knees, and surrender what you could have clung to. That's where I'm moving. That's where I'm planting seeds that will sprout in the exact moment I've appointed. Don't grow weary in your unseen obedience. Don't measure your impact by what others can observe. A kingdom moves differently. Heaven sees differently. I am building a foundation in your private life that will sustain the weight of what I release in your public life. But I need your cooperation. I need your decisions to reflect the destiny you're asking me for. Because I won't elevate you just to watch you collapse. I will release what you're praying for until I know it will destroy you. So right now, in this very moment, in the quiet places where no one claps or notices or validates, you are being tested, shaped, and positioned. And it matters more than you know. What you decide in secret will determine what I release in public. So choose well. Choose me. Because I'm watching the hidden places to see if they're ready to carry what's next. You've been calling it caution, calling it timing, telling yourself you're just waiting for the right moment, the right confirmation, the right alignment of things before you obey, but deep down, you already know what I asked you to do. I whispered it clearly. I confirmed it more than once. I sent people. I stirred your heart. I put the very thing you prayed for right in front of you. But instead of moving, you hesitated. You rationalized. You let fear sound like wisdom. You kept saying, I will, just not yet, as if delay makes your yes more holy. But let me say this plainly. Delayed obedience is not obedience at all, it is disobedience dressed in spiritual excuses. I'm not condemning you, I'm convicting you. Because what you don't see is that every day you wait, something weakens. The longer you ignore the prompting, the more your sensitivity to my voice dulls. The more you postpone your obedience, the more ground the enemy quietly takes in your indecision. Every minute you stall is a moment where heaven's momentum is paused by your preference for comfort. I didn't call you because you were fully ready. I called you because I chose you, and I expected your response to match the weight of that calling. Obedience isn't always glamorous. It often comes at inconvenient times. It stretches, it costs, it exposes what you've been leaning on that isn't me. And yet, it's the most beautiful expression of trust you could ever offer. What I asked you to do may not make sense to everyone else. It may not fit your logic. It may not even fit your plan. But it fits my purpose. And I see what's ahead. You don't. I know what's waiting on the other side of your yes. And it's not just for you, it's for others, too. Your obedience will unlock healing, release provision, trigger divine alignments. But none of it can happen while you're still clinging to the illusion that slow surrender is better than full surrender. I'm not pressuring you to act out of fear. I'm inviting you to trust me more than your understanding. If you keep waiting until everything feels perfect, you'll miss what I've already prepared. I am moving now. The wind of my spirit is blowing now. The path is open now. And you know exactly what I told you to do. Stop calling it confusion when it's actually delay. Stop saying you're unsure when you've already heard me clearly. Stop asking for confirmation when your spirit hath been screaming yes for weeks. This is the moment to act. Because the longer you wait, the easier it becomes not to move at all. Don't let the weight of obedience scare you out of your breakthrough. Don't let the comfort of waiting rob you of the clarity I've already given. Delayed obedience is still disobedience, and you know what I told you to do. So now the question isn't whether I've spoken, it's whether you will trust me enough to respond. This is not the time to be quiet. This is not the moment to bite your tongue, to hold back the truth I planted in your heart, or to shrink when I've given you the authority to speak. You've been carrying revelation, carrying words that could shift the atmosphere, carrying encouragement that could break someone else's silence, and yet, you've allowed fear to tame your voice. You've second-guessed your role, questioned whether you're the right one to say it, waited for someone louder or more eloquent to take the lead. But I didn't give them the word, I gave it to you. I entrusted it to your spirit because your voice is a weapon, not just for your breakthrough, but for someone else's freedom. The enemy has worked overtime to convince you that staying quiet is wisdom, that silence is safer, that speaking truth will cost you more than you can afford to lose, but what you don't see is that silence carries its own cost. If you keep holding back, you will look back and realize you forfeited moments of divine impact that were never meant to be missed. You will see lives that could have been touched, doors that could have opened, chains that could have been broken, all because you let fear wrap itself around your calling. I've not asked you to be perfect in your delivery. I've asked you to be faithful. And faithfulness means using what I gave you, even when your knees shake and your voice trembles. Don't wait for the words to feel easy, release them when they feel urgent. Don't bury the word just because others don't understand the weight of it. When I give you something to say, it's not about popularity, it's about obedience. You may not get applause, you may not get agreement, but if you speak with courage, you'll have heaven's backing. Your silence might feel like protection now, but it will feel like regret later. There are assignments attached to your voice, miracles on the other side of your obedience, generations that will rise because of a sentence you chose to release instead of suppress. Stop overthinking it. Stop rehearsing the fears. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. If the word is in you now, then now is the moment to let it out. I will fill in the gaps. I will anoint the sound. I will take your trembling yes and turn it into transformation. But I can't move through what you won't speak. This is your time. You don't need a crowd, you need conviction. You don't need perfection, you need surrender. And you don't need another sign, you already know the weight of what's in your spirit. So speak, even if your voice cracks, even if your circle shrinks, even if no one claps. Speak because it's holy. Speak because it's timely. Speak because your silence is no longer an option. If you stay silent now, you'll regret what you could have spoken in faith, so open your mouth and let me fill it. There's a window in time that I've opened before you, a divine door that wasn't earned by effort, but granted by grace, and you're standing right in front of it. You've prayed for opportunity, longed for clarity, asked me to show you what's next, and here it is swinging open in front of you, waiting for your obedience to match the invitation. But this door is not ornamental, and it's not eternal. It is holy, but it is not guaranteed to remain open if you choose hesitation over movement. I've placed you here with intention, at this precise moment in your journey, not to test your emotions, but to align your spirit with what I've already released in heaven. This is your opening. This is the shift. This is the chance you didn't think would come again, and I need you to feel the weight of that. Not so you panic, but so you choose wisely. Because delay isn't neutral anymore. Indecision is no longer harmless. You are standing in a divine moment, and what you do next has the power to unlock what generations before you only dreamed of. But it requires action. And more than that, it requires faith that moves beyond comfort. You cannot linger in the hallway of what if while expecting me to wait forever. I don't say that to threaten you, I say it to awaken you. Because too many of my children wait for open doors, then stare at them so long they forget to walk through. They pray, they weep, they plead, but when the moment arrives, they freeze. But I didn't bring you to this moment to freeze, I brought you to move. You don't need all the details. You don't need every step mapped out. You need to trust the one who opened the door and believe that if I led you here, I'll carry you through it. This door leads to more than just blessing, it leads to responsibility, to deeper surrender, to calling, to impact. And it won't always be easy, but it'll always be worth it. Still, you must know if you walk away now, if you let this pass, it may not swing open again in the same way. I will never leave you, but some doors are tied to timing, and the timing is now. That's why the tension is heavier. That's why your spirit feels stirred in ways it hasn't before. I've made this moment unmistakably clear, not because I want you to panic, but because I want you to prepare. There's nothing holding you back except your own fear. There's no obstacle in your way except the chains you refuse to drop. And the longer you wait, the louder the enemy's voice will become, feeding your doubt, clouding your faith, convincing you that it's not worth it. But it is. Everything I've promised is on the other side of this door. Everything I've been cultivating in the hidden place is ready to be released. But I won't drag you through it. I'll only invite you. And this is the invitation. Not to analyze, not to delay, but to step forward. The door is open now, but it will stay open forever. What you do next is sacred. You've convinced yourself that you're still in a waiting season, still preparing, still praying, still hoping that I will move, open, speak, shift, or send, but the truth is, I already have. I've moved. I've spoken. I've revealed what you needed to know. I've opened the path. I've stirred your spirit. The delay you feel isn't me withholding, it's you hesitating. It's the weight of your indecision cloaked in spiritual language. You're not waiting on me anymore, I'm waiting on you. I've been ready. I've been near. I've been drawing you in, leading you with conviction, surrounding you with confirmation, aligning circumstances, stirring dreams, softening your heart. And yet still, you've paused. You've kept one foot in and one foot out, calling it discernment when it's really fear, calling it patience when it's really pride, calling it wisdom when it's really worry dressed as logic. But I see the truth. I see how many times you've been on the edge of surrender, how many nights you've laid awake knowing exactly what I asked of you, how many times you've told yourself, tomorrow I'll begin, only to return to the cycle of delay that's numbed your passion and silenced your purpose. This moment is not about me moving, it's about you choosing. I'm not holding back anything. The fullness of what I've promised is still alive, still waiting, still reserved with your name on it. But it cannot be delivered to a heart that refuses to commit. You asked for change, for healing, for breakthrough, but those things don't fall randomly. They follow decisions. Decisions made in faith, not in fear. Decisions birthed in surrender, not self-protection. You can't hold on to your comfort and expect to walk in your calling. You can't keep saying you trust me with your lips while your hands stay clenched around the very things I've asked you to release. I'm not angry, I'm grieved. Because I see the glory waiting for you. I see the chains that would fall if you'd only move. I see the people who would be set free if you'd say yes. And I see how long you've convinced yourself that I was still deciding, still orchestrating, still making a way when really, I finished the preparation long ago. I'm not deciding, I've already chosen you. I'm not uncertain, I'm unwavering. And now, I'm not asking for more prayers, more fasting, more signs. I'm asking for action, for obedience, for your decision. Because every time you say you're waiting on me, you're missing the truth. I am waiting on you. And every second you delay, the cost increases. Not because I'm cruel, but because every moment matters in this divine timeline. I will always love you. I will never leave you. But I won't drag you into destiny. You must walk into it. The door has been opened. The word has been spoken. The time is now. And I'm still waiting, not for you to feel ready, but for you to decide. You are not waiting on me, I am waiting on your decision. Amen.